Discover the touching moment when a little girl's plea revealed an incredible bond no one expected. Lucy Dunne sat on the creaky wooden steps of her front porch, legs crossed, her notebook resting on her lap. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue on her small Midwestern town, she felt the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. She wasn't just a 12-year-old girl. She was a dreamer trapped in a town that felt paralyzed by struggle. When she overheard her mother on the phone, voice trembling as she expressed her frustration over closed doors and lost opportunities, Lucy's heart fractured into a million little pieces. Helplessness gripped her as she pictured her classmates, always with shiny new sneakers and summer camp stories, unaware of the burdens woven into Lucy's silence. How could she convey her anger, her sorrow, and her feelings of invisibility to someone who could make a difference? Scribbling felt futile, yet the urge to pour her heart onto the page was undeniable. Should she write a letter? Would anyone even read it? The noise of doubt was relentless, like the hum of cicadas in the summer heat, drowning out the flicker of hope that dared to flourish within her. She could feel it, gnawing at her insides, this urge to be seen. Why don't you just write? She whispered to herself, voice barely a murmur beneath the rustling trees. Writing was a space where Lucy held her power, a sanctuary she could control, unlike the chaos of life around her. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With renewed determination, she began to write. Every word tumbled out like an avalanche, raw, unfiltered emotion spilling across the page. Dear Mayor Henderson, she started, feeling her heart race as she recalled the enormous figure who occasionally passed her on the streets, always too busy to notice the kids playing hopscotch or the family struggling to make ends meet. I'm just a girl, but I see things and I wonder why some seem to get everything. Something flickered inside her, like a match igniting in the blackness. But the swirling thoughts of futility crashed against her hopes. If only he would read this, would he change? Could her voice ever reach someone so far removed from her world? That small flicker battled against an impending darkness. The tension in her mind twisted like a knot as she imagined the mayor, who likely had no clue about the unseen burdens within their town. What if he dismissed her letter? What if she only embarrassed herself in front of everyone she knew? She held her breath as she continued writing, the weight of her dreams fighting against the suffocating fears. Doubt lingered just behind her, like a shadow retreating with every word she wrote. The day of the town hall meeting approached, leaving Lucy with a whirlwind of anxiety and anticipation. Her heart raced at the thought of standing before the crowd, exposing her innermost feelings. Would her voice shatter the silence wrapping around her? Or would it fade into the echoes of indifference? Standing at the podium felt miles away, a dream fraught with uncertainty and tension that swallowed her whole. Lucy clenched her fists, staring into the depths of the crowd, where hopeful eyes met wary ones. Was she really ready for the moment when everything could change, or simply validate that her dreams were nothing but whispers lost in the wind? Lucy stood at the podium, her hands trembling as they gripped the edges. The hall buzzed with an energy that felt overwhelming, like static electricity in the air. It was filled with faces, some familiar, others unknown, but all of them stared back at her, a sea of expectations and judgments. She felt dwarfed by the enormity of it all, small and uncertain amidst the weight of their gazes. In that instant, doubt crashed over her like a tide, and she remembered the times she had felt truly seen. Those moments were few but vivid, marked by the encouragement of her teachers and the warmth of a childhood friend's laughter. Yet now, the thought of failure loomed larger than any fleeting joy. Could she summon the courage to share her truth? As the realization struck her, a spark ignited deep within. Writing had become both her refuge and her weapon, each word a step closer to conquering the fears that shackled her. Drawing in a deep breath, she leaned slightly forward, hoping to embody the bravery she sought. I want to talk about how it feels to be invisible, she began, her voice shaky, yet steadying with each syllable. Whether it's walking through school or watching my mom struggle to make things work, sometimes it seems like no one notices how hard some of us work just to get by. She let the words wash over her, feeling both naked and empowered. Each sentence was a piece of her soul, peeling back layers that had kept her hidden for so long. The world around her faded, the sound of shuffling papers, the murmurs of the crowd, even the ticking clock, until all that remained was her voice, her story. Lucy glanced around the room, trying to catch the eyes of those who had offered smiles in the past. When she spotted Mrs. Thompson, her English teacher, a sense of calmness enveloped her. The warmth in her gaze fueled Lucy's resolve. She continued, "I've been frustrated wanting to change the things I see, the things that seem unfair." With each word, she felt a weight lift. Time slowed, allowing Lucy to explore deeper truths, how helplessness had morphed into a yearning for connection. If we don't speak up, how can anyone understand us? The question hung in the air, calling for acknowledgement, and for just a second, a ripple of understanding moved through the crowd. As she drew to a close, her voice strengthened, clarity shining through the mist of uncertainty. "I don't expect anyone to solve everything for us, but I believe we must start listening to one another." As she finished, Lucy's heart sang a new melody, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. What if she had finally found her voice? The room erupted in applause, an unexpected wave of affirmation washing over her. But as she stepped down from the podium, a knot reformed in her stomach. She had shared her truth, yet with the applause came the haunting question. Had she truly inspired change, or was it merely a fleeting moment in the much larger turmoil of life? Walking through the crowd afterwards, she caught snippets of conversation swirling around her. Some faces beamed with newfound hope, while others were lost in skepticism. A knot edged tighter in her gut. Was she capable of making a difference, or simply a child using words she wasn't equipped to back up? Lucy headed home with uncertainty shadowing her steps. What would tomorrow bring? Underneath her yearning for change lay an unsettling truth. Her vulnerability made her powerful, but it also exposed her to disdain and dialogue she might not be ready to handle. Would staring deeper into uncomfortable truths reveal strength or unravel her resolve? As she sat on her porch, notebook in hand, she realized the journey had only just begun. The confrontation she had faced today had ignited something raw within her, and now Lucy had to decide what to do with that fire. Would she continue to chase answers, or would doubt pull her back into silence? Determined to discover the depths of her newfound strength, Lucy opened her notebook. It was time to write again. This time, she wasn't just dreaming. She was planning. The following day loomed with an unshakable weight, the echoes of her speech still resonating in Lucy's mind. Each passing hour felt like a test of her resolve. She navigated through school, carrying an unfamiliar intensity in her chest, part pride, part unresolved trepidation. Students she had previously overlooked now greeted her differently. Some offered nods of recognition, while others fell into hushed speculation, their whispers drifting her way like unwelcome breezes. During lunch, she sat with her close friend Mia, who leaned in eagerly. "Lucy, that was incredible. I can't believe you spoke about being invisible. It's like you found the words we've all thought, but never said." The excitement in Mia's voice gave Lucy a fleeting sense of belonging. Yet, beneath the surface of that praise, self-doubt simmered. Praise was easy to receive, but did she truly strike a chord, or were they simply offering consolation? As days progressed, she felt an overwhelming pull to transform the fleeting moment of inspiration into something tangible. A new plan formed, a way to reach out and harness her words, slide her insights into meaningful conversations. She envisioned a writing club, a safe space for peers to unearth their own stories. But orchestrating this plan posed its own set of dilemmas. Would other students really want to share? What if they dismissed her, viewing her efforts as childish posturing? Her once familiar notebook became a canvas for her mounting ideas, filled with scribbles of thoughts both energizing and unnerving. "How do I even start?" she muttered to herself, frustration shadowing the writing once filled with excitement. The night fell silently, and as she toyed with her words, her phone buzzed beside her. It was a message from Mrs. Thompson, her English teacher. "I'm proud of you, Lucy. I believe you have the potential to lead." Would you like to discuss your ideas sometime? The offer felt like fuel on her smoldering embers, yet a hesitation anchored her. She wanted guidance, craved assurance, yet feared the weight of expectation her teacher's belief placed upon her. How could she possibly translate her thoughts into action? What if she stumbled? The next morning, Lucy found herself pacing in her room, a swirl of thoughts clouding her clarity. Finally, she took a deep breath and agreed to meet Mrs. Thompson. "This is your opportunity to share your vision," she whispered to herself, her voice echoing off the walls, grounding her in determination to AT school. The moment arrived. As she approached Mrs. Thompson's classroom, Lucy's heart raced like never before. Each step felt like a leap of faith, a venture into the unknown realms of responsibility and leadership. It was both terrifying and exhilarating. Would her vision bloom into an enlightening discussion, or would it wilt under the scrutiny of reality? The gentle voice of Mrs. Thompson welcomed her, drawing her into a dialogue that seemed to promise simplicity, yet unraveled complexity in Lucy's thoughts. "What do you believe a writing club would accomplish?" Her teacher's question rippled through Lucy, unearthing more than ideas. It unearthed her fears and aspirations. Lucy weighed her response. "I think I want others to feel heard. I want them to know they're not alone." Simple yet profound, her desire laid bare vulnerabilities she had almost hidden from herself. Would she be able to carry this discussion forward, transform it into something that could bolster not only her confidence, but also others? As they delved deeper into her vision, Lucy found herself buoyed by newfound enthusiasm, undeterred by the doubts that lurked at the fringes. However, lingering anxiety curled at the edges of her mind. What if her words failed to create the space she envisioned? Back home that evening, her notebook lay open, filled with sketches of potential club rules, themes, and exercises. Each scribble represented not just plans, but her own flourishing voice stepping into the realm of empowerment. But the question persisted: would this endeavor cultivate change, or would she remain just a dreamer in an ocean of voices? As she considered her next steps, a sudden realization solidified her resolve. Lucy had to embrace the discomfort that accompanied growth, acknowledge it as part of her evolution. But she felt on the edge, like a tightrope walker balancing between hope and fear. Was this the time she would fall? Or would she stretch her wings and soar into the unexpected? The ink had barely dried on the page when determination surged anew. Lucy glanced at her phone. The next challenge awaited her: a message from the school board inviting her to discuss her proposal for the writing club. The moment for action had finally arrived. Would she seize the opportunity or shy away from her own potential? In that crucial moment, the question crystallized. Was she ready to fight for her vision and face the risks, or let her fears dictate her path? Lucy sat in her room, still reeling from the invitation to present her writing club proposal. The room felt both small and expansive, a universe contained within the four walls where hopes and fears collided. She hadn't anticipated things evolving so quickly, and with each fluttering heartbeat, her excitement intermingled with a growing sense of dread. "What if I'm not good enough?" she asked herself, the familiar grip of doubt tightening around her chest. As the evening wore on, she stared at her notes. Each bullet point outlined what she hoped to achieve, but with every glance, a new wave of uncertainty washed over her. The words blurred into a jumble of aspirations and insecurities. Why did confronting her fears feel so monumental? Lucy picked up her pen, trying to breathe life into a cohesive narrative. Yet the pages offered no comfort, only a mirror reflecting her inner turmoil. Realization dawned on her. This writing undertaking was not merely about creating a club. It was an extension of herself, a true reflection of her emotions and experiences. In that moment, she resolved to recast her worries as a source of strength. She would embrace her vulnerability, realize that her journey wasn't solely hers, but shared amongst many who felt unseen or unheard. The ringing of her phone startled her from her contemplation. It was Mia, her voice bright through the speaker. "Lucy, are you still on for our chat? I know it's a lot, but I'm here if you need to talk." Lucy sat up straighter. "I'm trying to get everything together for the meeting. It's just," she hesitated, taking a deep breath. "What if it flops? What if I stumble over my words?" "Hey," Mia's tone softened. "You're doing this because you care. You've already spoken your truth once. Now it's time to help others find theirs. Think about that. Her friend's unwavering belief ignited a spark within her. Perhaps it wasn't about perfection, it was about connection. You're right. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real, Lucy said, the words ringing like newfound clarity settling in. After hanging up, she redoubled her efforts, not merely rehearsing her notes, but embedding her passion into them. What started as simple lists of rules evolved into an emotional manifesto that reflected not only her vision, but the very essence of what she felt when she spoke about being invisible. The night unfolded, each hour reminding her of the urgency of her mission. The clock struck a late hour when she finally felt ready. Sleep eluded her mind, racing through the implications of standing in front of the school board. How to present herself? Would they see her? Would they value her thoughts? She envisioned herself stepping into the room, excitement quelling her anxiety, her voice growing steadier with each word. She could see herself speaking passionately about fostering a community, about bringing together those craving expression, even just through silent nods and shared glances, about transforming vulnerability into strength. But as Lucy waxed optimistic, the shadow of self-doubt crept back in. What if they laughed? What if they thought she was foolish? The next morning arrived with a brightness that seemed to mock her turmoil. Standing in front of the school board was like standing on the precipice of her fears. The walk to the meeting felt endless, each step echoing uncertainty until she paused. Just breathe, she whispered to herself, grounding herself with one firm thought. This is your truth. Own it. As she was ushered into the meeting room, Lucy's heart pounded, teetering on the edge of fear and resolve. The panel of adults awaited her, their expressions inscrutable. She was met with a chorus of familiar faces, but they felt foreign today. Could they really understand? The head of the board smiled encouragingly, prompting her to begin. The moment her voice broke the silence, everything changed. She could feel the warmth of her passion pouring into the room. Each word, each idea, painted a vision beyond herself, a vision that reflected the very stories that waited to be told. With every second, Lucy reminded herself that it wasn't about perfection, it was about connection. But as she continued, there was a stirring within her device, causing her to pause, uncertainty threading its way back. What if her voice faltered? Suddenly, amid her bubbling excitement, the realization hit her. Perhaps the biggest leap she could take wasn't just sharing her vision, but inviting all of them into a conversation, a journey towards understanding and shared stories yet to unfold. Just as she began to feel the rhythm of her speech taking hold, the unthinkable happened. Her heart fluttered with both vulnerability and courage, and everything hung in the balance as she faced not only the board but the challenge of truly being seen. What would she uncover within herself in that moment? The tension hung thick in the air, and Lucy's destiny felt more tangible and uncertain than ever. Would her courage blossom into a new chapter of her life, or would her fears hold her back once more? The air thickened, the weight of silence wrapping around Lucy like a cocoon. Time seemed to stretch indefinitely as she gathered her thoughts, battling internal chaos and a surge of adrenaline. She took a breath, grounding herself in that very moment, and opened her mouth to speak again, resolute this time to forge a connection. Her hands trembled slightly as she gestured, drawing in the audience with the visual demonstration of her ideas. Writing is our voice, she declared, each word fired with determination. It's a gift we can share, especially for those who might struggle to speak for themselves. The board members shifted in their seats, some leaning forward, intrigued. Was this moment truly beginning to shift something within her? With every passing second, doubt attempted to claw its way back in. Had they understood her? Did her message resonate? She could see a few members scribbling notes, others crossing their arms thoughtfully. Their faces, once anonymous, now held depth. Each represented a gatekeeper to her dreams. Her voice wavered as she continued, but she fought against it, desperate to maintain that newfound steadiness, no retreating into silence now. The beauty of a writing club lies not just in the words written, but in sharing our lives, our pain, our joy. It fosters understanding, compassion. Lucy pressed on. She showcased her vision of a collaborative environment, where students could break free from the shackles of isolation and express themselves freely. Ideas danced in her mind as she spoke. She recalled every moment she felt unheard, emphasizing how writing became a lifeline worth sharing. Suddenly, Lucy recalled a story from her own experience, a moment when a peer had faltered during a presentation and found solace through their shared vulnerability. In essence, she emphasized, this club can be a refuge for anyone who has ever felt invisible. A hushed sense of shared experience permeated the room. She fed off it, harnessing the energy that sprouted from her audience's reactions. Yet still, a gnawing anxiety clung to her like a shadow. What if they couldn't look past the surface of her enthusiasm? What if the adults in charge couldn't recognize the importance of vulnerability? She had to challenge them to see beyond their roles, to realize that the youth were not just students to mold, but individuals seeking direction. I believe, Lucy continued, her voice fueled by conviction, that fostering creativity isn't just an extracurricular activity, it's a fundamental need. Art allows us to navigate our journeys and process our emotions, especially in turbulent times. The room pulsed with energy at her words. Some faces softened, while others seemed to reflect deep contemplation. As she neared the conclusion of her presentation, her heart raced again. She realized that perhaps the most potent part of her proposal was not just the club itself, but the very act of standing there, sharing openly who she was. Please join me in creating something transformative, she urged, finally allowing a spark of hope to fuel her words. Her voice cascaded with the sincerity she felt, inviting them to join her in this uncharted territory of emotional exploration. When she concluded, the room was silent, not with dismissal but with contemplation. Lucy felt an electric thrill of possibility accompany her growing awareness, a shift from self-doubt to potential. She had relinquished the fear of invisibility, even if just for a moment, and stood in the light of authenticity. Then, to her astonishment, the head of the board leaned forward, breaking the silence that had enveloped them. What you've shared today is not only culturally beneficial, but necessary, he said, his voice steady as he met her gaze. Let us discuss how we can make this happen. Laughter spilled from member's lips, relieving tension. Lucy's heart swelled with pride, but just as she allowed herself to revel in triumph, a lingering question buzzed into focus. Was she truly ready to lead, to embrace the responsibilities that this newfound connection would demand? The unfolding opportunity loomed ahead, shimmering with both promise and uncertainty. What would leadership demand from her in ways she hadn't yet imagined? And what other doors would open if she chose to walk through with tenacity and resolve? Lucy knew the path ahead was fraught with challenges, but one thing carried her forward, the conviction that her voice was indeed worth hearing. As those thoughts hung tantalizingly in the air, she felt the stir of a new anxiety building within her. Was she prepared to inspire and be inspired in return? Would she plague herself with doubts and regrets? Her next steps would define not just the future of the writing club, but the contours of her very self. The days following her presentation felt surreal, a whirlwind of joy intertwined with a gnawing apprehension. Lucy replayed the meeting in her mind, savoring the head of the board's reassuring nod, yet grappling with the weight that now lay on her shoulders. Leadership was no idle endeavor. As adrenaline faded, the gravity of her commitment settled in. As she walked through the halls of her school, new faces seemed to glance her way, recognition slowly blooming from her recent achievement. But along with this newfound attention came doubt. Could she live up to the expectations she had ignited? Could she transform her vision into something tangible? Each step felt heavier, laden with uncharted responsibilities. Determined to confront her anxiety head-on, Lucy mapped out the next phase for the writing club, jotting down ideas in a worn notebook, the same one where she penned her first timid poems. She envisioned brainstorming sessions, writing workshops, and discussions centered on the very vulnerabilities she had spoken about. Yet as ideas flowed, so did her worries. What if no one wanted to join? What if her own insecurities leaked through her guidance like a splintering dam? One afternoon, Lucy found herself in the small library that had often served as her sanctuary. The air tinged with the scent of pages aged and yellowed. She sat engrossed in several fan favorites, their panels whispering stories of bravery and resilience. Each passage reminded her of the courage it takes to be vulnerable, a trait she was beginning to embrace within herself. Then, a small voice disrupted her thoughts. "Are you a writer?" A girl, perhaps 8 or 9, stood hesitantly near the shelves, holding onto a colorful book as though it were a shield against the world. Lucy paused, caught off guard by the question, and nodded. "Yes, I am. Do you write too?" The girl moved closer, her wide, inquisitive eyes alight with untold stories. "I want to write, but sometimes my ideas just feel silly," she confessed, shifting her weight from one foot to the other, vulnerability spilling from her in ways that mirrored Lucy's own struggles. In that moment, Lucy felt a flicker of understanding. "Every idea is a seed," she encouraged gently. "Some might sprout into mighty trees, while others bloom as flowers. It all starts with planting them." The girl's expression transformed, fascination replacing doubt. Lucy realized that her newfound role was not just about leading the club, but about nurturing the dreams of others, a chance to help them find their voices. Just as she had as they talked, Lucy couldn't help but reflect. She had always pictured leadership as a solitary task, but here, she found the power of connection tied to her ability to encourage someone else. The weight she'd felt was lifting, transformed into a shared experience. But just as the conversation flourished, a fleeting thought pierced her elation. Was she prepared for the responsibility of this role? Could she continue to guide, inspire, and create a space where others felt safe sharing and exploring their thoughts? Doubt whispered ominously, threatening to cloud her determination like a storm preparing to break over a bright landscape. When the girl finally left, Lucy breathed deeply, both exhilarated by the connection they formed and troubled by the uncertainty looming ahead. The clarity she had sought about her own leadership abilities remained frustratingly elusive. She knew she had the potential, but the path to unlocking it was fraught with challenges that threatened to swallow her whole. What if her attempts to inspire others floundered under her own fears? The question hummed in her mind as she left the library. Would she emerge successfully from this journey, or would it forever be a chapter defined by hesitation? And as she pondered the gravity of these choices, a resolute whisper echoed inside her. The moment had come to confront what she feared most, herself. What lay ahead required an unyielding spirit and unwavering courage to rise amid uncertainty and discover her true calling. The following week was a jumble of anticipation and self-doubt. Lucy arrived at school each morning with her notebook clutched to her chest, filled with scribbles of ideas for the writing club. But as excitement bubbled, so did anxiety. Would the other students respond to her vision? Would they feel safe enough to open up around her? In her mind, a cacophony of what-ifs rattled around like loose change in a pocket. What if no one showed up? What if they thought her ideas were stupid? Each question whispered louder than the last as she prepared her first official meeting. She could almost feel the skeptical gazes of her classmates weighing down on her. In a moment of need, Lucy sought counsel from Miss Thompson, the teacher who had always encouraged her aspirations. Over a steaming cup of chamomile tea, Lucy shared her worries, hoping for a glimmer of reassurance. "Stand firm," Miss Thompson advised. "Your authenticity will shine through. Stay true to yourself. And remember that any leader's journey begins with doubt. It's how you navigate through that doubt that will define you." Lucy nodded, absorbing each word like a sponge, yet the doubt remained a persistent shadow, patiently waiting to loom over her. As the afternoon approached, the weight of responsibility deepened. When the inaugural meeting finally began, Lucy arrived early, pacing nervously in front of the desk. The classroom felt cavernous, the empty seats mocking her insecurities. She arranged the chairs in a circle, hoping to foster an inviting atmosphere. She set up notepads and colored pens, envisioning vibrant ideas come to life. As the clock ticked closer to starting time, tension twisted in her stomach. One by one, her peers trickled in, laughter and chatter filling the room, their voices echoing against the painted walls. The energy surged, yet it only intensified Lucy's anxiety. She felt small, dwarfed by the expectations, but as she looked at the eager faces watching her, a flicker of resolve ignited. "Welcome, everyone." Her voice rang out, steadier than she anticipated, as she introduced the writing club's purpose, a safe haven for sharing thoughts and exploring creativity together. Lucy spoke with boldness she didn't know she possessed, weaving in snippets of her own story, her struggles with writing, and the importance of vulnerability. Yet, even as she shared, self-doubt gnawed at her. Was she believable? Were her words resonating? Each moment felt like a tightrope walk over a precipice of insecurity. Just as she began to lose her nerve, a hand raised in the back of the room. It was Sophia, the girl from the library. I like writing, but I'm not really good at it. Her voice trembled slightly, a direct reflection of Lucy's earlier fears. Lucy's heart sank as the air thickened around her. Should she downplay Sophia's concern, or could she take this moment now into something more liberating? Without thinking, she stepped toward the girl, the sense of connection igniting something dormant within. Good writing isn't about perfection, Lucy replied, her eyes earnest. It's about expressing who you are. Every word you write carries a piece of you, and that is more than enough. The room seemed to breathe, the hesitant smiles from others blooming as they exchanged glances, the realization that they were in this together spreading like wildfire. Conversations began to flow, as each voice clamored to contribute, sharing wit and fears alike, vibrant ideas bursting forth. The atmosphere transformed. Hesitation gave way to enthusiasm, and Lucy found her footing. But just as the meeting flourished, she felt a crack forming in her facade. Could she continue to guide them? What if these changes uncovered depths she wasn't ready to face? A tremor of uncertainty lingered, whispering that each meeting would be a battle against her own fears, a chance to challenge herself. As she helped others harness their creativity, the class came to a close. The exhilaration coursed through her veins, but so did a need for reassurance. Would this connection last beyond today? The question poked at her thoughts, a reminder that this journey had only begun. The emergence of her inner leader had awakened something undeniable within her, yet the specter of insecurity still lingered, and it was then, as she caught Sophia's bright smile illuminating the energy in the room, she realized the profound weight of mutual growth, a shared journey of fear, empowerment, and the powerful bonds it created. What lay ahead would not only be an exploration of creativity, but a confrontation of her deepest insecurities. As Lucy gathered her things and prepared to leave, a sudden realization struck. The moment had arrived not just to lead, but to embrace the unpredictable nature of this journey. Could she truly navigate the delicate balance of vulnerability and leadership? Only time would unveil this truth. The weeks rolled on, and the writing club started to carve a niche in Lucy's life. Each meeting brought new perspectives, a tapestry of unique voices woven together by the simple threads of written expression. Yet, no matter how vibrant the energy became, a faint undercurrent of apprehension tinged her thoughts. With every laugh shared and story told, Lucy felt her confidence begin to blossom, but every moment of victory whetted her anxiety too. After school one day, the club had just wrapped up an exciting session focused on poetry. As members shared their work, Lucy's heart swelled with pride, but the reality of leading this eclectic group loomed over her. The momentary high of connection gave way to a familiar question. Was she capable of sustaining this? She shuffled through the halls post-meeting, the smell of freshly painted walls mingling with the echoes of laughter still ringing in her ears. Making her way to the library, she noticed Sophia, perched on a table with her notebook open. The girl had bravely begun to contribute more, her shy suggestions evolving into profound reflections. Yet today, something dark clouded Sophia's features. "Hey, everything okay?" Lucy asked softly as she approached. Sophia glanced up, wiping a tear from the corner of her eye. I wrote something, but I don't think it's good enough to share," she murmured, her voice shaking. Lucy felt a stab in her chest. Here was a raw wound, one that echoed her own journey. "You know, every time you write, you're sharing a piece of yourself," she replied slowly, pulling a chair closer. "What matters most is that it's honest and true to you. Can I read it?" Surprised, Sophia hesitated but nodded quietly. The rush of vulnerability mirrored in her eyes. It almost felt like they were in their own secret world. With trembling hands, Sophia pushed the notebook toward Lucy. The words poured out, a haunting yet beautiful narrative reflecting deeper struggles, the kind that didn't just itch at the surface, but lived beneath. Fighting to be understood, as Lucy read. The weight of Sophia's struggles hit her like a wave. She could feel Sophia's fears seep into each line. It was raw, and it was honest. Forcing a small smile, Lucy laid the notebook flat on the table. You see? This is powerful. This captures so much emotion. It doesn't have to be perfect. Sophia let out a shaky breath, the heaviness lifting slightly. Watching her, Lucy felt the pieces of her own self-doubt begin to crumble and shift. As she encouraged Sophia to embrace her story, the realization struck Lucy. Here they were, each little moment of vulnerability, a chance for her to confront her own fears through Sophia's bravery. A growing flame ignited in Lucy's chest. Every time she offered compassion, each instance of lifting another, she carved a clearer path beyond her insecurities. She was beginning to realize the dual nature of leadership. The more she guided, the more she learned about herself, too. But the leaps in growth didn't come easy. Lucy knew the coming days would be critical as she prepared for an upcoming inter-school poetry reading event. Her deep-seated worry creeped back in. What if she wasn't enough? Could she pull off an event that would mean so much to her peers? As thoughts bounced around her mind like errant marbles, she stumbled across a harsh truth. What if her journey had less to do with perfection and more to do with embracing vulnerability? The seeds of this awareness began to germinate, but would it be enough to drive her forward? Determined, she returned home with new resolve. She would host a special workshop in the next meeting focused on performance. Lucy began sketching out plans, excitement thrumming through her veins alongside foreboding trepidation. Would she truly summon the courage to embrace the uncertainty not just for her peers, but for herself? The question dangled, compelling and electrifying, a reminder that every step forward demanded a confrontation with the unknown. As that fateful day approached, Lucy stood at the crossroads between doubt and determination, teetering on the brink. Just how far was she willing to stretch past her limits to help others, and in doing so, help herself? The answer began to emerge, but clarity eluded her just out of reach, like steam vanishing into the air. The stage awaited, but would she rise to meet it? The days leading up to the workshop spun with a velvety mixture of excitement and anxiety. Lucy pored over her notes, scribbling ideas for activities that could galvanize her peers into genuine expression. Yet the latter half of that equation, the leading part, clung tightly to her, infusing her mind with an unshakable tension. Could she actually inspire the group as she envisioned? In the quiet of her room, she paced between bursts of planning and lapses into introspection. The walls around her seemed to nod, reflecting her internal torment. She stood in front of her mirror, practicing the introduction she'd deliver. She watched herself, a shadow of uncertainty flickering in her eyes, mirrored by her own raised eyebrows. What if her voice trembled? What if the words tangled in a fluttering throat? Each repetition of her rehearsed phrases felt hollow, a wind-blown echo devoid of authenticity. She couldn't shake the vision of her peers staring at her with questioning eyes. What if they sensed her uncertainty, her fear of not being enough, someone desperately trying to lead without a clear sense of direction? Each imagined moment cut deeper into her resolve. The night before the workshop, Lucy sat cross-legged on her bed, lit only by the soft glow of the bedside lamp. The weight of her role loomed heavily, and in quiet moments of reflection, she recognized a troubling truth. Wouldn't her own struggle with confidence provide a bridge to connect with the others? In the silence, the idea began to form from a mere whisper into a clear thought. If she could channel her vulnerabilities, if she could open up about her fears and insecurities, perhaps others would mirror that honesty back to her. They could share in the collective anxiety, and trust could weave through the room more effectively than any rehearsed drill. Vulnerability could be their armor instead of a weakness. The image of Sophia's tear-streaked face surfaced in her mind. Lucy's heart swelled with an undeniable connection. She recalled the courage it had taken for her to share her writing, and in that moment, warmth flowed through Lucy, encouragement fed by empathy. What if Lucy led with this approach, inviting everyone into a space of shared experiences? The next day, her pulse quickened as the moments ticked down to the workshop start time. Each tick of the clock felt like a drumbeat warning her of an impending challenge. She took a deep breath, her fingers brushing the edge of her notes, now more of a backstage pass than a script. The gathering room buzzed as her peers filed in, chatter filling the space with nervous energy. "Hey, everyone," Lucy began, her voice steadying against the weight of her fears. She willed herself to meet their eyes, hoping for recognition. I know we're all feeling a bit unsure about sharing today. She glanced at them all, her heart racing. I want to take a moment to be real before we dive in. Quiet descended, and Lucy felt the room hold its breath along with her. She shared snippets of her own journey, the gut-wrenching fear of inadequacy, the moments where she wished she could shrink into the background rather than step into the light. Piece by piece, the walls she had established began to crumble, and what unfurled felt vulnerable and liberating all at once. She paused to gauge their reactions. Small voices chimed in, recounting their own fears. With each revelation, Lucy felt a tightening bond form amongst them, an invisible handshake of solidarity. The workshop transformed into a sanctuary, and the air buzzed with shared vulnerabilities. The essence of their individuality began to sparkle in the room, as authentic storytelling partnered with courageous expression. Emboldened by the atmosphere, Lucy guided them through exercises focused on relinquishing perfectionism and embracing flawed creativity. Laughter blended with gasps of surprise, as they found humor in their stumbles and courage through each other's stories. But as the atmosphere shifted, the realization landed even heavier. This, too, was a test. Standing before them, she could almost hear the question echoing in her mind. Did she have the tenacity to ride this wave of vulnerability now that she had opened herself up? She began to wonder if stepping beyond just leading involved not shying away from her own vulnerability, but harnessing it as a source of strength. As the workshop neared its end, everyone seemed cloaked in newfound confidence, but uncertainty still swirled in Lucy's gut. Had she cracked open the door to transformation, not just for her peers, but also for herself? She felt the first flickers of hope, but accompanying it was a new awareness of the rawness of their collective honesty. Before dismissing the group, Lucy took a breath. "Let us continue this journey together," she proposed. The nodding heads and bright eyes compelled her to take a risk, opening the doors to more in-depth exploration in their next meeting. But in that decision lurked a daunting thought. What if this newfound bond could also expose deeper insecurities? With an electric free zone of excitement and trepidation, Lucy grasped the arduous path that lay ahead. The true test of their courage was only just beginning. Would she be able to nurture this profound connection without losing herself again? The sun shone brightly on the day of the inaugural writing club poetry reading. Lucy stood backstage, her heart pounding as she reviewed the last-minute details. Her notebook clutched tightly in her hands, filled with notes, hopes, and fears, reflected her journey as essence, the growth from a timid girl into a leader determined to forge spaces where others felt empowered to share their voices. As the clock ticked closer to the event's start, memories of weeks spent nurturing the club flooded her mind. She had embraced vulnerability, transforming insecurity into strength with each session. The bond she had cultivated with her peers felt like a tapestry, strong yet beautifully frayed, woven with shared stories and collective truths. Stepping onto the stage, Lucy felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about every member who had bravely shared their words, leaving pieces of their hearts exposed. In that moment, the fear that once gripped her became a distant memory. She had transformed it into a source of resolve. "Welcome, everyone," Lucy began, her voice stronger than before. "Tonight, we're here to celebrate our stories shared through poetry. Each word, each line is a testament to our journeys." The room buzzed with a palpable energy, each face reflecting anticipation and excitement. She felt their supportive presence lifting her. As the first performer stepped up, nerves fluttered through Lucy. The reading unfolded with raw emotion, each poem resonating deeply. The vulnerability of her peers unfurled like petals, beautiful and bold. With each performance, Lucy found herself reminded of why she had created this space, to allow others to feel seen, just as she had yearned for so long. When it was finally her turn to read, she took a deep breath. Standing at the podium, she steadied herself, channeling the strength she had cultivated. "This poem isn't just mine. It's a reflection of our journey together," she said, her voice full of conviction. As she recited the words she had penned, she saw nods of recognition in the audience and felt the weight of mutual understanding envelop the room. With every line, She illustrated the essence of being invisible and the power of vulnerability. As she concluded, the sound of applause reverberated like a warm embrace, not just for her, but for everyone who had found courage in words. After the reading, Lucy sat down, the collective energy buzzing around her. Conversations flowed like an easy current, laughter erupted frequently, and connections deepened naturally. In those moments, she understood fully the transformative power she had embraced not just for herself, but for each person she had invited into that sacred writing space. Days passed, and the impact of the reading reverberated throughout the school. Students approached Lucy in the halls, offering smiles and words of encouragement, their camaraderie no longer restricted to the club meetings. The ripple effect had begun. They had connected through shared experiences, and truly, they were never invisible again. Each interaction solidified Lucy's growth, her confidence now radiating from within. She had become not only a leader, but a beacon for those seeking their own voices, a responsibility she embraced with pride. As she moved forward, she realized that leadership meant more than just guiding others. It was about creating a foundation of trust, authenticity, and collective strength. Reflecting on the journey, Lucy realized she had conquered her doubts. She had transformed from the quiet girl wrestling with insecurities into an articulate advocate for empowerment. Her vision for a writing club had blossomed into a vibrant community, thriving on mutual growth and shared truth. As she sat on her porch once more, notebook in hand, Lucy smiled, no longer a dreamer trapped by her silence, but a powerful storyteller eager to inspire others to unravel their narratives. The future gleamed brightly, filled with possibilities, and she was ready to tackle whatever it held. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about this conclusion, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let's honor the journey of personal development and the power of stories.